Hello. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Good. How are you, Morgan?
I'm I'm great because we're starting a podcast today.
We are super excited.
I am too. So I guess we should tell the people who we are. First off, what are we called?
Did we decide on a name?
I think we did land.
Official?
Yes, I feel like it's official, and you should say it now, and then it'll be really written in stone.
We are Out of Initiative.
Ba-ba-ba-ba. Welcome. We're Out of Initiative. We're two sisters by marriage who are really into talking about stories
All the time.
all the time.
As we possibly can. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We decided to come on really strong, so you really had a good sense of who we were just right out of the gate. So I feel like this way we'll really whittle down to the audience that we I think we're trying to talk to. People who want to talk about stories and from women in hoodies with
Absolutely.
unicorn horns, unicorn hoodies.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So Sarah, tell me about yourself.
I am a mom of 2 children, and I live in the Pacific Northwest, and I have kind of a small little farm with chickens and dogs and horses. Um, I we have our own business and I help with that. And then I do writing. I'm an author for middle grade and young adult books, fantasy, sci-fi, although I've been kind of getting into contemporary these days too. And when I'm not writing, I read a lot. Pretty much anything I can get my hands on, and it's kind of always been that way. When I was in school, after you finished your homework, you were allowed to take out your book, right? And so I would hurry through my homework so I could read my book. In middle school, I actually read the whole section that was set up for like the 7th graders. You know, it was like I read all the books.
Nice.
Like, and the librarian was like, you can't take like 8 or 9 at a time. And I was insisting I'd read them all weekend, and I would. So yeah. My first job was at a library. It was in middle school. It's summer, shelving books, and then taking lots of books home. So I think with being such a avid reader, it wasn't until I was older that I realized that I could maybe even write a story. I always thought authors were like this mythical creature, like movie stars, right? And then I started realizing like I could write a story. I'm not saying it's good, but I could at least write one. And the first ones were not good. But I just kept attending conferences or connecting with other writers, that kind of thing, reading like craft books. I have a whole shelf of just craft books, and just kind of working on it. So I've been writing now almost 5 years, and hopefully be published soon. But
No, you're agented. That's important. That's not
I am.
You're not querying still.
Yeah, I'm represented by the Carolyn Jenks agency. Becca Crandall is my agent, and I've been with her about 1.5 years. And she's been a huge support. She pushes me every time with revisions, and I feel like my craft just gets better and better with her. So it's been great.
I feel like
her on my team.
I feel like I don't say this enough. You're really cool. Like, I think you're really cool. Like, I very much look up to you. I think that that's so cool. Big fan. Big fan.
Well, I have to admit that I think you're really cool because you have like a degree for what I had to completely, so like you knew what you wanted, you got your degree, and now you get to do this job that's super cool.
Well, so I'll just hop in. I have been an avid writer for my whole life. I've always wanted to be an author. It's been my dream since I was a very, very small child. I have notebooks and notebooks of very, very cringy small child written things. These big
I think a lot of writers have those. Yeah.
I actually like came across some recently and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I can't wait to look at some of my old work and like be uncomfortable and it'll be so sweet to like flip through. And I was like, this is really, it's gotta go. It's gotta go. All of it's gotta go.
Mm-hmm. I have some old folders of old work and I'm like, I don't want to ever look at them again. Like if they disappear, I'd be okay with that because
I started like in fiction, right? Like as a kid, I had this dream. I wanted to be a fiction writer. Really inspired by fantasy. I've always loved fantasy. And then I kind of went through a phase maybe around when I started doing the like heavy eyeliner, leather armband, pants with the extra chains coming off of them. Kind of.
You went through that phase.
Oh man, let me tell you what. I was like emo light because I really couldn't, still to this day, can't commit to anything ever. But I really wanted to be a songwriter at that point. And unfortunately, I wrote a lot of songs. And golly, it's like, it's like if a Taylor Swift wannabe came out and like didn't have the way with words and music that she does, you know what I mean? Like the storytelling just wasn't there. The lyricism wasn't there. They were pretty moody, woe is me, my life is hard, because I was a teenager, right? Not the teenagers do.
Writing songs is hard. Writing poetry is hard.
I do love poetry.
I respect people that can do that because not only are you dealing with the rhyming, but it does have to tell a story. And then you have the music aspect that it has to fit the tone or it has to fit, the theme. I mean, it's very... I respect them.
I just realized something that I don't think we've ever talked about. Did you know I used to perform and compete in slam poetry?
No, you've never told me that.
I can't believe we haven't talked about this before. Okay, so I went to college. I wanted to be, I wanted a hospitality degree. I thought, okay, look, 18-year-old Morgan didn't dream very big. My dream, my big dream, all caps, was to become the general manager of an Outback Steakhouse. I wish I was making this up. I'm really sorry. I'm so embarrassed.
So hospitality, that was the degree.
That was the degree. I needed a hospitality degree, and then I could make $60,000 a year at the upper end at the Outback Steakhouse. Couldn't even get a job waiting tables there because I had no experience. I'd only been a hostess, and I did like a lot of food service jobs, but I was going to get that hospitality degree. By the end of my sophomore year, I had failed business law and I was really struggling. Those classes are really hard. It was a lot of business and it was so boring to me. Like it just didn't speak to me. I didn't like it. The only classes I liked were English. And I thought, one of my friends who also had struggled in business law, she said, I'm changing my degree to English. And I was like, oh, it's like, it feels like a cop out, right? Like, oh, the English degree, like I saw Avenue Q, like I understand that that's like a meme. So I didn't really want to do it, but like, I also kind of wanted to graduate ever because I was just accruing student debt and like, that was horrifying. So I switched my major to English and they said, what do you want to specialize in? And for a hot second, I contemplated like going down the path of like colloquial English because I think the speaking and the spoken word as I stumble over my own language, I think that that's funny, is so interesting. But then I was like, no, you know what I want to do is I want to write. So I have a degree now, a bachelor's in English with a focus in creative writing. And I'm like 3 credits away from a minor in business. And they were like, do you want to take one class to finish your business minor? And I was like, oh, what is it? And they're like, business law. And I was like, I'm not doing that again. I'm sorry. No, I will let that one rot in the back of the fridge. And so during that time, while I was getting that degree, love poetry. I think poetry is amazing. And I had a really, really incredible poetry teacher, Chris Arrigo at WSU. Over in Eastern Washington, I am also PNW native. And this was around the time I met your brother, who I did ultimately marry, which awesome for us. I got really into poetry. He introduced us to the beat poets. And then from there, we started talking about slam poetry. And I just was like obsessed with it. It was like, it's so cool and interesting. I'm going to write these poems. And there was a competition, a local competition. And whoever won on campus went to Portland and then competed further. And I ended up taking like second, I think, in the competition.
Wow.
So another classmate and I went to Portland and competed. And I I really wanted to be woke. I really wanted to be so like forward thinking, but had encountered so little adversity. I really just had no concept of what that sort of thing is.
Yeah.
So I was really trying to be edgy. I'll have to at some point share with you. I did write a poem specifically about trying to impress your mom, your Jewish mother. Well, Isaac and I were dating. And so it's actually really funny because that was the poem I won with, is this poem about like trying to impress my boyfriend's Jewish mother. And it was not as
definitely need to see that at some point.
It's had a routine. There was kind of a whole thing with it because it's very expressive on stage. Did not win. Turns out woke white girl does not win the prize, and that's fine. That's probably the way it should be. But yeah, it was great. It's a hoot. But I, unlike you, have not queried ever at all. I have finished one novel that aged very poorly over the last 2 years, and now kind of contemplating round 2. Like, let's try it again and let's see what I can do. I'm not as we call you stubborn, right? Like, I feel like I'm not as stubborn as you are, and that really is hurting me. It's slowing me down, but I think I'm gonna get there. I'm just like so moved by how hard you've worked, and I think that's kind of like really lit the fire for me. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do a sprint. Let's write some stuff.
Well, to be clear, I was a dental hygienist for 6 years, and then when my youngest daughter was born, I worked on call for about a year and a half. And then finding daycare was just, as a lot of moms understand, it was very difficult. It's just the inconsistencies. And I would go to work all day worrying about my kid's sick and I need to go pick him up or whatever. It was very, very difficult. And so when I ultimately made the choice to just stay home, I was very lucky and fortunate that my husband could continue working and allowed me to stay home with the kids. And when they were little, I had no time to do anything. But as they got a little bit older, during like nap time, I found little bits of time to write. And when they were at preschool, I would sit in the car for 2.5 hours while they were in preschool in the parking lot and write. So it was just like I'd grab these little bits of time. But again, I was just very fortunate that I didn't have to work and do it. But I know a lot of writers that are moms and work, and it's difficult. They do a lot of weekends. They do a lot of early mornings. There's a 5 a.m. writers club, like on Twitter, that they get up at 5 a.m. and write for an hour before the kids are awake and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but you do it.
You just do what you have to do.
You just have to do it. And if, the story burns in you and you have to get it out, I mean, you just do it.
So I think I agree. The balance of trying to write with a family is insane. I have no children by choice. I have this cat, and
Which, to be fair, is a child.
Oh,
really, he's a toddler that's just furry paws.
His little furry paws, and he really he's a very special cat. He's a little high needs, special needs, I should say, and love him to pieces. And holy smokes, he's the most expensive animal I've ever encountered. And that's okay. He's not more expensive than a horse, right? You've got the horse.
I don't know. Lately,
it's close. It's close.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
But yeah, so we don't, our writing kind of brings us back to the thing that I think brings us here today, story crafting in general, but also specifically, in addition to fiction, writing for Dungeons and Dragons. Next week is the 2-year anniversary of our Sunday game. And I'm really excited.
Amazing. This campaign that you've started and continued, and I mean the journey and everything is just, it's amazing. And I feel like I've never shared this, but between me and the other players and you, I feel like there's such a bond.
So good.
There's so much just connection you have with these people. that you create, telling the story together and just seeing, weekly. We're really lucky that we can get together, virtually every week. And I mean, it's just this intense connection you really form. And I just love it.
We're really like so fortunate with this group that everybody comes every Sunday, like every week, every Sunday, 9 a.m. Everybody logs in. Like I run late because I get really obsessed with what lipstick to wear. I've been like on like a makeup renaissance. So like that has been slowing me down. But otherwise, like we kind of log on all together and then we play for 3 hours and then we hop off at noon and it's so nice. It's such a great like consistent story.
And then we have the group chat, the message chat. And it's just on a Tuesday, I'm having a rough day at work and someone sends a D&D meme about our session from the week before or whatever. I just love it. It's just great.
It's been really exciting because I started with this is my I think this is my first real run at DMing for this long stretch. So basically what I'm saying is I never DM'd before. I'd only played and then one day I just started a campaign and we're on year 2 and I don't think that that's a fair expectation. I feel like that's not to be dramatic, but it's like sort of the equivalent of someone being like, I wrote this one story and then I got it published, and like it doesn't normally happen that way. You don't normally just like find a group and click with them immediately and everybody loves each other.
Yeah. Lightning.
We sure did. And it's like struck gold.
Lightning.
I think that the gold. Lightning strikes the gold, and then that's right. That seems right.
That's really, I think, with D&D, finding a group that consistently can meet. That's you're striking lightning, getting gold. I mean, it's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've played a little bit like kind of off and on. And I know that in our next chat, we're planning to dig in a little bit more about like where we started in D&D and how we got to where we are today. But very briefly, I will say that like we'd had some on and off experiences. I've been part of other games with other DMs, both DMs that I play with now and DMs that I will never play with no matter what. You can't twist my arm enough because sometimes the group vibe works and sometimes it just really super duper doesn't.
Yeah. And that's definitely, I think, like in future episodes, we should talk about finding the right group and the personalities and all that meshing. And then, just the if you're homebrewing a campaign or whatever campaign you want to make, setting the tone and the precedent for what people want to, if it sounds like fun to them or not, because that's ultimately the goal. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for chatting. I wanna make sure that we leave people wanting more, right? So if you want to know more, or if you want to tell us about your writing journey, absolutely reach out. You can email us at merelynpcs@gmail.com. And for our outro, what are you writing this week?
I am currently editing. I've been editing pretty much all summer. A YA rom-com.
Love it.
And I just am doing revisions and editing and taking a break and then dive back into editing another YA that's like a kind of urban fantasy. It's like a modern practical magic. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah. So hopefully I'll write something new for Nano. Are you doing Nano in November?
I feel like we're saying it now and we're on the spot. And so I should say yes. And that's going to help me stick to it. So yes, we should definitely do Nano. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool.
I'll say that I am currently writing more story for our ongoing D&D game. With the 2-year anniversary coming up, we're starting to kind of enter what I believe will be our final arc. And there's definitely a lot of loose ends that I left for myself that I thought would be like, oh, it'll be so cool and freeform to see like where the party goes with this. And instead, I just have a lot of loose ends to tie up that I need to figure out. And like, I don't know what trees you guys are going to go barking up. Like, you're going to do whatever you want. And I'm just going to try to catch up and it's going to be great. So I've got that going and I'm trying to outline for Nano because I was trying to figure out like, what am I going to write? Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. We should definitely announce our projects and another.
Yes. Oh, that sounds really dramatic. I love that.
Do the drum roll.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sound effects and everything. Well, thank you for chatting. We have been out of initiative, but we're going to get back into it.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Out of Initiative, a podcast from Merely NPCs. For more from Sarah and Morgan, visit merelynpcs.com or follow them on Instagram @merelynpcs.